Hi everyone, it's Henry and I'm up here in the Luftwaffe and it's Saturday the 29th of July. Where's the time go? You can probably hear the seagulls. I'm here in Brighton and Hove and the seagulls have chosen this very moment to kick up a fuss about something. I don't know, they're deciding they're going to go down the pub this evening or whatever. Anyway, what's this all about? Can you see there's a map on the wall behind me? Some of you have been paying attention. This video is about my new book called Martinstaat 1744 and the exciting moment because I just literally have been handed these. One from France and one from Germany and I'm not sure which is which. Shall I have a look? These are no, I can't tell where they're from. These are the hard copy proofs of the Martinstaat 1744 book. I've already got the softback proof and I'll come to that in a bit. But shall we, I just want you to be here for this exciting moment where I actually open these packets for the first time and see what the quality is like. And the reason, why did you get two? Why did you get one from France and one from Germany? Because I wanted to see that the print quality is consistent. I mean, I know it's all digital print these days, print on demand, and it should be consistent. But I thought, do you know what? I just want to make sure. So, here we go. Goodness me. Out of the first packet. Of course, they've got this across the middle. Not for resale, it's a proof. But that's, oh, I'm quite pleased with that. Look how shiny. That's actually, the cover at least, beautiful. So that's one. Let's open the other one. So I don't know, I don't know, I'll have to look in the back of the book to see which country it is from. Let's put that one down. There's the other one. Now that's pretty consistent. I'm impressed by that. They are pretty much identical. Beautifully produced. I'm going to have a sneak peek in the back and see if it tells me. Oh, right. So this is the one from Germany, which is actually printed in Poland. And this then is the one from France, which is, it tells me in the back, printed. Do you know what? They're both printed in the same place. I've just found something out. It doesn't matter which country you order from. They're printed in Poland. So thank you for joining me for that revelation. So how nice that, amazingly, they've arrived on the same day as well. And I was thinking, gosh, that's amazing. How's that happen? And it's because they've come from exactly the same place. So I could have just ordered 2 copies from Germany or 2 copies from France or just 1 copy. It doesn't matter. Maybe I'll give that away to someone as a special thing. Gosh, because it's a proof thing. Now, I know because I've already seen the proof of the paperback that there was a slight issue with the bleed and it's actually less obvious. I'll show you what, because I saw that I've already kind of upgraded the files. This is all happening so fast. When I got the paperback proof, can you see there's this white line along the bottom? And I thought, oh, what's that? And that's because of, what's the technical term? A cock-up. To do with, people who know anything about print will understand this, or graphic design. It's to do with the bleed allowance on the page. And actually I needed to give a bigger bleed allowance because the pages have got this background tint, this kind of parchmenty background tint that I gave them. So what you need to do is to make sure that that bleeds. Oh, now we've got a helicopter. Hello, is this a police helicopter? Sounds like it could be a police helicopter. I might have to record this again at this rate. At least the police helicopters shut up the seagulls. This is live, you can tell. This is live. Anyway, the bleed allowances, when you've got a sheet of paper, obviously when they finally produce the book, they guillotine it to size. They print it on pieces of paper that are bigger than your page size, right? So then to make the book, they guillotine it, chop, chop, down to the actual page size. So you have to make sure that if you've got any kind of background color or photographs or anything that go right to the edge of the page, that they what's called bleed off the edge of the page, so that when the chopper comes down, you won't get a nasty white edge like I got there. Now, it looks like in the hardback version, actually, they did a better job. There's no bleed, no problem at the bottom of the page. There's actually a tiny amount of the white showing at the top of the page. But they obviously, someone tried to shift it around. But it doesn't matter, because I've re-uploaded new artwork for the interior pages, which means that that problem will be eliminated. Anyway, so here's the book, okay? Can you see that? I'll sit back slightly so you can see that. So I open it up, and there's your opening page, where obviously standard fare that you reproduce what was in colour in black and white. My imprint page and the contents. And if you've got the PDF version, you'll know that the content page numbers are actually hyperlinks. They'll link you straight to whatever page number it is. So if you click on, the Faltenian Army page 20, click, it will actually take you straight to that page. So if you come back to the book and you think, I'm sure there was something in there about, that happened in week 6, and you click on the page number for week 6, click, it takes you straight there, rather than you having to riffle through or scroll through lots of pages, all right? Obviously, don't sit there with the book version and try and make it, it doesn't work, no. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, now I have opened with a couple of images there that some of you will recognise. If you're old enough, you might recognise this from an issue of Miniature War Games a very long time ago. Yes, and I thought, nice, because they were written actually as an article that's a prequel to this book. This book's set in 1744. And this was actually from a game that was set in 1740. So it's kind of a prequel to this. But I thought it'd be nice to just include those, because I've still got the originals, and I've scanned them in and plopped them in. Now, this is a very important page. Actually, this page is entitled A Word About Illustrations. And I'll tell you why. Because the games, the campaign itself, and the games related to the campaign that form the basis of this book were all fought back in the 1991 with my friend Guy Hancock, okay? And you, if you're old enough, some of you might have been born after that, so hey, what do you know? But those of us who were around back then, and I was born in 1961, right, will remember no internet. No, there was no internet. There was no email. Okay, so our Guy and I fought our campaign by post. Yes, part of the thrill was actually sorting out our coordinates each week and posting them to each other, and then arranging a telephone call. I think it was usually on like a Sunday morning, where we'd literally open the letters that we'd sent to each other, and the opponent's coordinates would be revealed, and so we'd get on the phone and chat. And like an old-fashioned, do you remember the game Battleships, where you'd, speak coordinates to one another? So H23, nothing. P17, nothing. N25, aha. In Battleships you go hit, but in our case it would be contact. And then we would have a discussion and roll some dice to work out how much additional intelligence we would have gathered when that contact occurred. So that would be based partly on the initiative and intelligence of the commander on the spot. Those of you who've got my campaign rules, they've been all over the place now, but if you've got a copy of my campaign rules, you know how that's done, because each personality, you roll up their characteristics, so you'd know the initiative and the intelligence, so forth, of the person there on the spot. And so depending on the dice roll, it would be no, you found out nothing more at all. You just know that there's something enemy in this vicinity. On the other hand, if you had an incredibly good dice roll, it might be, blimey, yes, you found out, yes, it's the 12th Hussars, and it's the 51st and 71st Musketeers, and it's the von Schminkhopfen Cuirassiers, and 3 batteries of artillery, and whatever. So obviously you would then be able to make a much more informed decision about what you wanted to do next in the campaign based on the information gathered. Most of the time you get an average roll, so you'd know, yes, there's some enemy, it's some enemy cavalry and some infantry. You might have seen a gun or two, or, you know, as I say, you could get something really specific. Or you might just discover, that coordinate just turns out to be an enemy scout, and you can spot him on the horizon over there. There he is, a guy on his horse, or maybe, you know, half a dozen guys, a picket patrol, that kind of thing. So you might be thinking, right, okay, so I've worked out he's got roughly a brigade of stuff, and I've got roughly a brigade of stuff. So do I feel lucky? Do I want to have a go and try attacking? You might think, I'm definitely going to attack because he's got a battalion and I've got an entire division here. Or conversely, oh dear, I've got a company of Grensers and I can see he's got an entire army. I think I'm going to back off. But on the other hand, the Grensers have done a good job because they've discovered the location of his army. So there was all that going on in the pre-internet age by post. The other side of things when it comes to illustrations is, this was in the days way before digital photography. Digital photography kind of took off in the mid to late 90s, didn't it? I remember I got given a prize. I wrote a letter into, I think it was Wired magazine or something like that, and I won a prize of one of the very early digital cameras, which now I look back was laughably, you know, low in resolution. But it was also in the days before we had camera phones and that kind of stuff. So any photography was in the old-fashioned format of take a picture, it's on film. Oh gosh, so you have to wait until you've used up the whole of the reel of 24 or 36, whatever it was, exposures on that particular piece of film. And then you take it to the shop and get it developed, and you'd wait. You know, it was even not till kind of the early mid-90s till you actually got places like Pronto Print that you could have your photos developed while you wait. But while you wait would have been, yeah, go and have a coffee around the corner at least, mate. But usually it was still, yeah, you could post it off, or you'd take it into the shop and they say, yeah, we'll have it with you in a week, right? So there was that. And also, back in those days, I have to confess, Guy and I didn't have the most glorious looking collections of figures. It was pretty hodgepodge. Many of them, I hate to confess this, many of them were not painted or only partially painted. The same was true for our terrain. There was a lot of sort of green painted chipboard and stepped chipboard hills or polystyrene hills and bits of railway stuff going on. What can I say? It, you know, cloth rivers, didn't look great, not photogenic. So therefore, I couldn't, when I was putting this book together, I couldn't go, yes, I've got those 5,000 digital photographs, I'll just make a selection. No. So I made a decision. Obviously, there's all the maps. There's a lot of maps that were hand-drawn and stuff at the time, and they are in here, as you'll see. But when it came to photographs, I made a decision that, do you know what? Yeah, I haven't got any photographs related specifically to this campaign, but I have got quite a lot of photographs of Imagi-Nations games that have been played in relatively recent years, and some of them look fabulous, right? Like some of the games I played with guys up in Ayton and stuff. Beautifully painted figures, huge tables, nice terrain, you know. Nothing necessarily that's going to win awards, but it looks nice, and I've taken some nice photographs, so I've used some of them to kind of give flavour about imaginations, because there's going to be some people out there still who are going like, imagine what are imaginations? And I talk about that in here. So there's that. The other thing I thought, as I was getting towards, you know, the finishing the book, the layout of the book, I thought, I've got a few gaps here, what should I do? And I thought, because I'm mad, I know what I'll do. I'll just do a few hand-done watercolour illustrations of the Prunkland's units. That's what I'll do. I'll do kind of a selection of them, showing the different facing colours of the musketeers and grenadiers and. Well, me being me, I ended up doing more than 30. I think it's 31 original watercolour illustrations to show you the uniforms of Prunkland, as you'll see. And yeah, what can I say? Now, I'm not a genius military. I'm a graphic designer. I'm not a genius military illustrator. I've done illustration in the past, but realizing, oh, I need to do them quite quickly, really, I decided I created sort of a template for the musketeers and the grenadiers and the cuirassiers and hussars and so forth. So I've effectively printed those out onto really lovely high quality 300 GSM watercolor paper and done a massive coloring job. Obviously you could do that at home for your own troops if you raise, you want. Just, start with a tracing of something or whatever, or copy something famous and use that as your template, print it out loads of times onto some paper and colour it in with pencils, watercolours, whatever you want. I mean, all of us, we're wargamers. We've got huge collections of Citadel, Vallejo, Army Painter, Foundry paints in our drawers. Acrylic paints, obviously. You can use those to actually do paintings with. Did you know that? You don't have to just use them on your miniatures. You can actually do paintings with them. Acrylic paint is great. But you need thick paper if you're going to use acrylic paint because it's wet, right? Anyway, so that's what I did, as you'll see. And I have, credited where appropriate who has inspired me, with Angus McBride or Minsell or Knurtle or whoever it happens to be, famous military illustrators. Yeah, and, well, you can make up your own mind. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. So that's the whole thing about the illustration. So I'm going to turn slightly sideways, and this is if you've picked it up in a bookshop, right? I'm just going to there's bright sunshine there, so I'm going to flick through so you can see. So this is the beginning of the campaign world. You've got the map of Faltenian Prunkland, okay, and my introduction. There's the full map of Martinstaat, okay. You might think it's a funny name, Martinstaat. It came about because I reminded a guy, he had a mate called Martin who wanted to take part in the campaign, and I honoured him by calling this country, this neutral country, Martinstaat. He never came along and played, but the country stayed as Martinstaat. There we go. And the capital city is Martinstaat, just to cause extra confusion. So it's Martinstaat and Martinstaat in the middle. Get it? Anyway, so there's some background, a whole load of stuff about background, including the full campaign rules that we use for this campaign. It's not the same set of rules. It's similar to, but it's if you like, an earlier version of the set of rules that appears in my Wargaming Campaigns book. So I thought I've got to include the rules so you can understand how things have ended up, where they've ended up, at what speed and what penalties they might have paid, and so on and so forth. All right? This was a recent Imagi-Nations game. I'm assuming that you people watching this understand what Imagi-Nations are. They're countries that you've made up that may resemble real countries from the 18th century. It's usually the 18th century, but it kind of with a squint, right? So the things might look Prussian or Austrian or whatever, but actually they're the Stoppelbockers or whatever they happen to be. In this case, Prunkland and Faltenland and Martinstaat. Okay. So there we go. There's a literary tradition called Ruritanian literature. The most famous thing being The Prisoner of Zenda. But there we go. So take some tables. Oh, and someone on Twitter pointed out there was an error there which has been corrected. A number in one of these tables had been accidentally printed in white. There we go. Sort it out. This is what people wanted. Okay, I'm going to bring this a bit closer so you can see. Scanned pages from my original campaign diary and journal. People were saying, we love your handwriting, Henry, so can we have the whole thing? You asked for it. I have delivered. And actually, I'm pleased to say the quality of the print means actually, whilst it's fairly small, it's all entirely legible. Can you see that? Right. Here we go. And here's the first of the illustrations I did, the watercolour illustrations. red facings, orange facings, and you'll see all the other colours. Punkland's King's colour, effectively. And here we go, uniform regulations from that time. Flags, more uniforms, we're into the yellows and greens now, and all the stuff at the top. And here we go. And then the first page of the Martinstaat crisis, which is my expeditionary force. So actually, the vast majority of the uniforms I've illustrated are from the expeditionary force, so you can picture what they look like. Okay, here's a big Ayton Imagi-Nations game. Then there's some stuff about Guy's army, the Faltenian army, where again, for him, and these go back a long way, so these would have been done 1989, that one, when we were first thinking about Guy joining in, and I was designing Faltenland's uniforms for him, and he decided, nothing to do with me, he said, oh, could they have yellow coats, Henry? And I thought, okay, so they got yellow coats. And here's some cavalry that I illustrated. And then I found, in the process of doing this book, literally as I was rummaging through old papers and notebooks and that kind of stuff, I found a whole load of notes I'd written at the beginning of the campaign about what I wanted my strategy to be. And I've scanned those in as well. Okay. Then we get into the 1744 campaign in detail, and then you'll see there's the big general map, and this is where Faltenland came in, and that's where Prunkland came in. And I've pointed out where the barges, troops on barges could come in at, Guy's up there on the river and me in there on the river. Guy was coming downstream, so we had a bit of an advantage there, but never mind. And then each week, okay, this is the meat and potatoes of this book, right? Each week, my campaign diary showing my units, my coordinates at the beginning of the week, my intended coordinates at the end of the week, right? And then notes about what was going on. And then opposite that, you've got the two, what would have been over the page, as it were, in my diary, of the coordinates I received from Guy, any contacts that were made, and the result of any shindigs that happened. Okay, so this is the real meat and potatoes. This is like where I was, where I wanted to go, and then, of course, as a result of those contacts, might have had to adjust those end point coordinates. So I might have wanted to get to P17, but he beat me in that, on the way, and I had to retreat to Q17 or whatever. All right. So it's all here, all the coordinates, and then the result of any little encounters. Now for these pages, because some of it's a bit scruffier than those pages, I've transcribed everything. So everything that's up here, I've transcribed, and you can actually just read the type and then glance up at there if you want to. Meanwhile, you can see the little map here. Okay. Whoop, hang on, pointing at the wrong bit. That thing. There's the little map. On it, you can see there's lots of little hexagons, red hexagons and yellow hexagons, which, amazingly, those are the coordinates of the troops. So my coordinates from my stuff and Guy's coordinates from his stuff. So you can actually follow visually what's going on. And I've done an extra book. If you buy this, okay, I'm going to flip back. Go back to this page. Can you see at the bottom it says special notice for this print edition at the bottom? Can you see that? With a URL, a web address, where you can go and download a book of a PDF book of all these maps larger, a full page size. Okay, and if you want to, you can download it for free. I've actually left it as make a contribution if you'd like. Obviously, all contributions are welcome and are very, very helpful in order to enable me to carry on doing these sort of mad projects. But, if you feel like you think, oh, blimey, he's already had my money for the book, I'm just going to download it. That's fine. You don't have to pay me anything. No questions asked. It's all right. But, you know, some people already have, and I'm extremely grateful for anyone who does say, you know, well, here's a quid, thanks very much. Or, you know, some people have been a lot more generous than that. It's up to you. It's literally a pay what you want download. All right. Anyway, so let's move on week by week. Some pretty pictures of imagination stuff. That's Regiment von Eintopf. Ah, my glory boys. And here we are on to the next week. So at the top, I wanted to put it down the side, but Amazon told me, oh no, we're going to chop off that. So I've put at the top the week number, all right? So you can tell what's happening where, and also it appears in the text, okay, as a subheading. So on this occasion, you've got, because it, you know, it varies what's going on. Here you've got my coordinacy stuff, and then the what's happening over the following page, and all that transcribed, okay. And then the next week, and here we had a little encounter on at N22, little encounter, and you can see there's the original scribbly thing in my diary, and I did a bigger version as well because that became a thing. In fact, this is the 13th von Friedman Musketeers. And so on and so forth. Now, this is also something that happened when we met each other, you know, had an encounter, kind of, yes, oh yes, hit. I drew up a much more detailed map of that hex. If we decided that we were going to do something, rather than, oh no, I'm only a scout, I'm going to retreat. But if there was like, oh, any question, oh, I might hang around there, I want to see what the terrain's like, I drew up a much more detailed hex map of a 5 mile across area, as you can see, and there's lots of these. Lots of people seem to like these. Oh, that picture is the Battle of Molwitz that we did at Partisan. And so it goes on week by week. Von Schiffman Marines here. Another pretty, very detailed map and all the coordinates. On my medical corps there. And on it goes. And a really detailed hex up there. Oh, Grenadiers, we have Grenadiers. Oh, this was interesting, bit of fun, kind of we decided to swap sides in that hex, I think. More detail, and some really big detail hexes. Another Grenadier. And here we go. There's a bit of redacted text there, but don't worry about it. I think I made a fruity comment about the job I was in at the time, but never mind. Why I did that in my campaign diary, I don't know. I was obviously angry. Anyway, here we go. And then, oh, I've introduced imaginations in other periods. So later 19th century, 20th century, kind of World War II, but not quite. I did an extra unit here, the Leibgarde. Even though they weren't in the expeditionary force, I thought, oh, they're pretty. You'd like to see the Leibgarde. And on it goes. Another very detailed hex. Here, I've actually reproduced the back of one of the map sheets because I've made some notes about stuff. And I thought, oh, you'd probably quite like to see that. And right, so then we get to hex W31 where there was an encounter. And actually, it turned into a thing. So I've actually done a write-up of all my notes. I did, as you see, a blow-by-blow account of the game that took place in hex W31. Using the Newbury rules. Now, some of you go, oh my God, but some people have asked for this level of detail, and here it is, okay? Including my really biro-y sketch map back then. Oh, a Grenzer appears. We've got some ancient Bizarbians happening here, so to show you other periods of imaginations. And on it goes. And here, oh, here we go. This was a big old. Oh, nice little sketch of a bridge I did there. Can you see that? That's a bit. Yeah. And here we have. There was a big fight here, a kind of a last stand Alamo kind of situation. So that was the map at the beginning, and then I found the map I'd kept of showing where I'd scrubbed out in red all the bits of wall that had been reduced to rubble. Yeah, it's actually quite fascinating, I think. Some more imagination stuff. Here we go. And Jaeger. Yeah, more things happening, little sketch maps and so forth. Von Klinkertor Cuirassiera. Here we go. We're up to week 13. I think it is 15 weeks now. Pioneers. And the Battle of Uferhügel, which was a big thumping thing. And some horse artillery, and there's little things like at the end of it there was an award of a Ludwigskreuz, so I've done an up-to-date design for the Ludwigskreuz. There we go, a big acing game there. Or you get cavalry as well. Nice pretty cuirassier. I'm very proud of the cuirassiers actually in the dragoons. Some thoughts of my own. Now this is based on one of the chapters I did about strategy in my Wargaming Campaigns book. So I thought, well, I'll put it to the test myself, and went through the whole list of questions that you might recognise from that book and kind of answered it. And it was a really interesting exercise. Then some other detailed hexes I've done, a bit more about the opposing forces and the job I have on my hands to do a lot of painting. Lots of cavalry there, you'll like that. Here we got the 1743 commanders and the dress regulations. Some pretty flags. Bet you like flags. Different units and their uniforms and so on and so forth. Then, now, when I wrote the Wargaming Campaigns book, they said, oh, God, can you give us some information about what it would actually cost to raise and keep an army in the field? So here's my kind of research and stuff. A whole load of it, which those of you who like mega detail in campaigns, like the economics and logistics of the thing, I hope you'll like this a lot. There's a lot of work went into this, and some of it I'd started a long time ago, some of it I've finished off now, and I actually have scanned in a page from a real period book about the cost of paying troops. Proper research. Then I thought, let's expand it out a bit about the Imagi-Nations thing. So I provided some blurb and a partial atlas of the world I'm gradually creating, chipping away at map by map. Some of the big scale stuff and some of the small scale, hex detail and what have you. There we go. And right at the end of the book, my mate Guy, he didn't keep notes anything like as rigorously as I did, but he's very kindly contributed an afterword. Okay. And then the last page, for those of you who might have forgotten, I've written some other books as well. And I'm going to be adding to that page, obviously, bit by bit. And then there's some blank pages, because that's what printers do, that you can make your own notes in or whatever. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Martinstaat 1744 hardback edition, and here's the softback edition. So now I know that any little glitches have been corrected. I'm going to press the green light on these. I'm going to go and do that now. And the hardback in UK speak is £35, because it's a bit more pricey than the Tabletop Tactics one, because the print costs are higher. Simple as that. And the paperback I'm able to do for, I think I'm saying £27.50, and whatever the equivalent is wherever you live. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little kind of flick through, and I hope I've met your expectations. It's hard to judge what your expectations were, because it's such a mad and unusual project. There's never been anything quite like this. I think the person who's come closest is probably Charles S. Grant, who's been doing some of his, Vereinigte Freie Städte and Grand Duchy of Lorraine books, some of which he did with Phil Ollie, some not. That's probably a few years ago now. But anyway, it's mad, it is unique, and someone very kindly, I think it was Purple Druid, very kindly, he's one of the people who was instrumental in getting me to do these in the first place, has called it a work of art. I hope you agree, and I hope you buy it, and I hope that you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Take care.